When people talk about the most beautiful birds in the world, India always takes center stage. Here in forests, rivers, and mountains, nature has painted living jewels that defy imagination. From the dazzling Indian peafowl with its shimmering fan of feathers, to the Himalayan monal glowing like a rainbow in the snow, these birds are wonders of design and spirit. In this video, you'll meet 15 stunning species, all captured on camera in their natural habitats. But beyond their breathtaking beauty lies a deeper story of cultural legends, fragile ecosystems, and the urgent need to protect them for future generations. So stay with us until the end and tell us in the comments, which of these magnificent birds spoke to your heart the most? What bird in the world can stop people in their tracks with a single glance? For India, the answer is clear: the Indian peafowl, better known to many simply as the peacock. Crowned as the national bird of India, the peafowl is more than just a bird. It is a living symbol woven deep into the nation's culture, mythology, and even daily life. When a male spreads his iridescent tail, lined with dozens of eye-like patterns that shimmer in blues and greens, it feels less like watching a bird and more like witnessing a miracle of design. Scientists tell us that this spectacular display is not just for show. It is part of a timeless ritual. Males fan their feathers, shake them with a soft rustling sound, and hope to win the attention of nearby females. The longer and fuller the train, the stronger the message, a sign of health, vitality, and good genes. Fun fact, did you know that despite their heavy tails, peacocks can actually fly? It may not be graceful for long distances, but in a burst of power, they leap into trees to roost safely away from predators. So next time you see a peacock perched high above the ground, remember, beauty doesn't mean weakness. The peafowl's significance goes beyond biology. In Hindu mythology, the god Krishna is often depicted with a peacock feather in his crown, while in ancient courts, peacock imagery symbolized royalty and divine protection. To this day, their calls echo across Indian villages, often just before the monsoon rains, as if nature itself is sending a signal that life and abundance are returning. But behind the beauty, there are challenges. Habitat loss and hunting have put pressure on wild populations. Though still widespread in India, conservationists warn that their survival depends on protecting forests, grasslands, and wetlands where they thrive. The Indian peafowl, dazzling, symbolic, and unforgettable. It is more than India's national bird. It is proof that some of the most beautiful birds in the world are also storytellers of culture, spirit, and survival. High in the Himalayan mountains, where clouds brush against snow-capped peaks, lives a bird so radiant it is often called a spirit of the mountains, the Himalayan Monal. At first glance, this bird looks almost unreal. Its feathers shimmer with metallic blues, greens, and fiery reds, changing colors as the light shifts. Locals call it Danfi, and for centuries it has been seen as a symbol of beauty and resilience in one of the world's toughest environments. What makes the monal truly breathtaking is the contrast. Against a backdrop of white snow and rocky cliffs, its jewel-toned plumage glows like a rainbow. The males, with their iridescent crowns and long tails, are especially striking, while females are more modest in color, blending into the alpine slopes to protect their nests. Fun fact, the Himalayan monal can dig into frozen soil with its strong bill to uncover insects and tubers buried beneath the snow. Imagine that. Even in the harshest winters, this bird finds a way to feast where few creatures survive. In many Himalayan communities, the monal holds cultural and spiritual value. Its feathers have been used in traditional hats, and its image appears in folklore as a messenger between earth and sky. In Nepal, it is even the national bird, a source of pride and identity. But like many mountain creatures, the Himalayan monal faces threats. Deforestation, poaching, and the changing climate are shrinking its alpine habitats. Conservation efforts are vital, not only to protect the species, but to preserve the fragile ecosystems of the Himalayas. The Himalayan Monal, dazzling, mystical, and resilient. It is more than just a beautiful bird. It is a living jewel of the mountains, A reminder that even in the harshest places on Earth, nature paints with the brightest colors. Picture a bird so elegant it looks like it stepped right out of a watercolor painting. That is the painted stork of India. Tall and graceful, with snow-white wings brushed in soft pink and tipped with black. This stork moves with the calm dignity of an old sage. Its long, yellow-orange bill curves slightly downward, perfect for sweeping through shallow water in search of fish. Watching a group of painted storks feeding in a wetland is like watching living art come to life. These birds are most often seen around lakes, rivers, and flooded fields. They wade patiently side by side, dipping their bills in rhythm as if performing a silent dance. And when they take to the sky, their broad wings stretch wide, carrying them in long, elegant glides above the water. Fun fact, painted storks are incredible parents. Both the male and female take turns feeding their chicks by regurgitating food into the nest. And during the hottest days, the adults will actually fetch water in their bills and pour it over their young to keep them cool. Few birds show such tender care. Beyond their beauty and behavior, painted storks play an important ecological role. By feeding on fish and small aquatic animals, they help maintain balance in wetland ecosystems. Their presence often signals that a habitat is healthy, rich in life, and worth protecting. Sadly, like many wetland species, the painted stork faces challenges. Draining of wetlands, pollution, and disturbance from human activity threaten their numbers. Yet sanctuaries across India, such as Bharatpur's Keoladio National Park, still ring with the sight and sound of these magnificent birds nesting in great colonies. The painted stork, elegant, nurturing, and irreplaceable. It is proof that sometimes nature paints its masterpieces not on canvas, but on wings. Imagine a bird so graceful that it looks less like a creature of the earth and more like a spirit drifting through the trees. That is the Indian Paradise Flycatcher. This bird is instantly recognizable by the male's extraordinary tail. Two long, ribbon-like feathers trailing behind him as he darts through the forest canopy. In flight, it looks like a white silk streamer caught in the wind, weaving and curling as if dancing to music only he can hear. While the males in their full glory are dressed in pure white with glossy black crests, the females wear warm chestnut tones. Both, however, share a restless energy, constantly flitting, hovering, and diving to catch insects midair. Their hunting style is as mesmerizing as their appearance, graceful yet precise. Fun fact, Indian Paradise Flycatchers are not born with their famous long tails. Young males look much like the females at first. Only after 2 to 3 years do they grow those spectacular white streamers, a transformation that makes their first breeding season truly unforgettable. For centuries, these birds have inspired poets and artists across Asia. Their beauty is often compared to fleeting dreams or wandering spirits, symbols of purity and freedom. Spotting one in the wild feels like a blessing. They are restless, always on the move, and never stay in one place for long. But beauty comes with fragility. Habitat loss and forest clearing threaten their numbers. Fortunately, they are still fairly widespread across India, a reminder that protecting natural woodlands keeps these winged spirits alive. The Indian Paradise Flycatcher, delicate, elusive, and unforgettable. A vision in white silk that proves once again why India is home to some of the most beautiful birds in the world. What if beauty could fly like an arrow through the sky? Meet the blue-tailed bee-eater, a bird that turns every hunt into a dazzling aerial show. Slim and elegant, this bird wears a coat of shimmering green, golden chest, and of course, the signature blue tail that flashes in the sunlight. With long wings and a sharp, curved beak, it is built for speed and agility. When it dives after an insect, it moves so fast that your eyes can barely keep up. One moment perched on a branch, the next slicing through the air like a streak of emerald and sapphire. True to its name, the bee-eater feeds mostly on bees, wasps, and dragonflies. But here's the remarkable part. It doesn't simply swallow them whole. Instead, it snatches its prey midair, returns to a perch, and smashes the insect against the branch to remove the stinger before eating. Nature's way of mixing elegance with clever survival. Fun fact, blue-tailed bee-eaters are expert migrants. Every year they travel hundreds, even thousands, of miles between breeding and wintering grounds. During these journeys, huge flocks can be seen sweeping across the sky, turning migration into one of nature's most spectacular aerial ballets. Their presence is more than beauty in motion. By controlling insect populations, especially stinging bees and wasps, they help keep ecosystems in balance. Farmers often see them as allies, silent guardians against swarms of pests. Still, their dependence on open grasslands, riversides, and sandbanks makes them vulnerable. Human development, loss of nesting sites, and pesticide use all pose threats. Yet when protected, they return year after year, loyal to their colonies, faithful to the skies that carry them. The blue-tailed bee-eater, swift, radiant, and intelligent. A flying jewel that proves beauty in nature is never just about appearance. It is also about skill, resilience, and the art of survival. Deep within the shaded forests of India's Western Ghats lives a bird so striking, yet so elusive, that spotting it feels like discovering a hidden treasure. The Malabar trogon. At first sight, this bird looks almost painted by hand. The male glows with a bright crimson chest and belly, contrasted by a dark black head and delicate white markings. His wings shimmer with brown and black patterns, while the long tail flashes bold bands of black and white. The female, softer in appearance, wears earthy brown above and warm orange below. Subtle, yet equally beautiful. Unlike many showy birds, the Malabar trogon is quiet and secretive. It prefers to perch silently in the understory, scanning for insects and caterpillars. If you walk through the forest, you may not hear it at all, until a sudden flash of red disappears into the trees. Fun fact, trogons have unique feet. Unlike most birds, 2 toes point forward and 2 backward, a design that helps them grip branches firmly while sitting still for long periods. This odd arrangement makes them masters of patience, waiting motionless before swooping down on prey. Culturally, the Malabar trogon has long been admired by birdwatchers and nature lovers in India. It is one of those species that make a forest feel alive with mystery, a reminder that some of nature's greatest beauty is hidden, not obvious. But like many forest birds, it faces growing threats. Deforestation in the Western Ghats, one of the world's biodiversity hotspots, has reduced its habitat. Protecting these forests not only preserves the trogon, but countless other species that depend on this fragile ecosystem. The Malabar trogon, radiant, secretive, and enchanting, a jewel of India's forests, reminding us that beauty is often found in the quietest corners of nature. What if the rainbow itself took the shape of a bird? That is exactly what the Oriental dwarf kingfisher looks like, a tiny flash of color hidden in India's dense forests. This bird is unbelievably small, barely the size of your hand, yet it glows with a palette worthy of a painter's dream. Brilliant golden orange on the belly, deep violet on the crown, electric blue on the wings, and a bright crimson bill. Every feather looks dipped in pure light. When it darts through the shadows of the jungle, it feels as if a rainbow has come alive. Despite its size, the dwarf kingfisher is a fearless hunter. Unlike its larger cousins that perch over rivers, this jewel prefers the shaded streams and forest creeks. It waits quietly, then dives with astonishing speed to catch insects, frogs, or even tiny fish. Watching one hunt is like seeing precision wrapped in beauty. Fun fact, the Oriental dwarf kingfisher nests in a surprising way. Instead of building in trees, it digs long tunnels into riverbanks or mud walls, sometimes stretching up to a meter in length. Both parents work together, patiently excavating the nest chamber where their chicks will grow. For such a tiny bird, that's a truly enormous effort. Because it lives in dark, humid forests, spotting this kingfisher is never easy. Birdwatchers often call it a prize sighting, the kind of encounter you remember for a lifetime. Its radiant colors against the green shadows make it one of the most photographed birds in Asia, despite its elusive nature. But like many forest specialists, it faces threats. Logging, stream pollution, and habitat loss are slowly reducing the safe havens it needs to survive. Each time a forest stream is destroyed, a little piece of this living rainbow disappears. The Oriental dwarf kingfisher, tiny, dazzling, and unforgettable. A reminder that sometimes the smallest creatures carry the brightest light in nature's masterpiece. Imagine walking through an Indian city at dawn and suddenly hearing a chorus of chattering voices overhead. Look up and you'll see a flash of emerald green wings, the unmistakable rose-ringed parakeet. This parakeet is one of the most familiar yet beloved birds of India. Draped in bright green with a long, graceful tail, it is instantly recognized by the pinkish-red ring around the neck of adult males. In sunlight, that ring glows like a delicate necklace, giving the bird its name. With a sharp red beak and lively black eyes, the rose-ringed parakeet has a personality as vibrant as its colors. Unlike many exotic-looking birds, these parakeets have adapted beautifully to life alongside humans. They thrive not only in forests and fields, but also in city parks, temple gardens, and even on telephone wires. Wherever they go, they bring a splash of wild nature into daily life. Fun fact, rose-ringed parakeets are excellent mimics. They can learn to imitate human voices, making them popular as pet birds for centuries. In fact, ancient Indian royalty kept them in palaces, where their chatter was said to echo the voices of courtiers. In the wild, their behavior is endlessly entertaining. They fly in noisy flocks, feeding on fruits, seeds, and grains. Farmers sometimes see them as troublemakers, raiding crops in coordinated groups. But at the same time, they help spread seeds that keep ecosystems healthy. Their playful calls and acrobatic flights make them favorites of birdwatchers and casual observers alike. Culturally, the rose-ringed parakeet is tied to history and mythology. In Hindu tradition, the god of love, Kamadeva, is often depicted riding a parakeet, a fitting symbol for such a lively and colorful bird. Even today, their presence around temples and villages feels like a living link to the past. The rose-ringed parakeet, cheerful, adaptable, and charming. Whether in the heart of a forest or the middle of a bustling city, it proves that beauty and wild spirit can flourish anywhere. What happens when a forest catches fire? Not with flames, but with feathers. That is the effect of the scarlet minivet. This small but radiant bird brings an explosion of color to India's treetops. The male blazes in fiery red and black, like glowing embers drifting through green leaves. The female, equally charming, wears yellow and gray, softer but no less striking. When a flock of minivets moves together, it feels as if sparks of sunlight have scattered across the canopy. Scarlet minivets are highly social. They travel in small, active groups, constantly chattering and flitting among branches. Their movements are quick, almost restless, and their calls are sharp whistles that echo through the forest like secret signals. To spot them is a delight, but to watch them as a flock is pure magic, a living cloud of red and yellow dancing against the green backdrop of the jungle. Fun fact, these birds are expert gleaners. Instead of diving for prey, they carefully search leaf by leaf, plucking out hidden insects and caterpillars. In this way, they act as natural pest controllers, keeping the forest trees healthy. Farmers near forests even benefit indirectly from their silent, patient work. Beyond their ecological role, scarlet minivets inspire admiration simply for their beauty. In many cultures across Asia, their fiery plumage symbolizes energy, vitality, and passion. For birdwatchers, catching sight of them is like stumbling upon a hidden flame burning in the forest. But as forests shrink, so too does the habitat of these jewel-like birds. They depend on dense woodlands for food and nesting, making them vulnerable to deforestation. Protecting these habitats ensures that forests remain alive, not only with trees, but with the flashes of red and gold that only the scarlet minivet can provide. The scarlet minivet, vibrant, social, and unforgettable. A feathered flame that proves even the smallest birds can light up the largest forests. Have you ever seen a drop of liquid metal come alive? That's exactly what the purple sunbird looks like as it darts among flowers. Though barely larger than a hummingbird, this tiny bird is a living jewel. The male in breeding plumage shines with iridescent feathers that shift between deep violet, metallic blue, and emerald green depending on how the sunlight hits. The female is more modest, dressed in soft olive and yellow, perfectly camouflaged as she slips between blossoms. Purple sunbirds are nectar feeders, using their curved beaks to sip sweetness from flowers. In the process, they become important pollinators, carrying pollen from bloom to bloom. With their rapid wing beats and constant energy, they often look like sparks of light scattered through a garden. Fun fact, these birds aren't just nectar drinkers, they're versatile. When food is scarce, they'll catch insects in mid-air or even raid spider webs for tiny snacks. Their adaptability is one reason they thrive in both forests and city gardens. Their song is a rapid, cheerful warble, often delivered from a treetop perch. For many in India, the sound of the purple sunbird is a familiar part of mornings in parks and backyards. Watching one hover at a flower, wings buzzing, tail flicking, and then zipping away in a flash of color is pure joy. Culturally, sunbirds are often seen as symbols of light and renewal. Their presence in temples and gardens adds not just beauty, but a reminder of nature's constant cycle of life and energy. And for photographers, capturing the iridescent flash of a male sunbird is like catching sunlight in motion. Yet these little birds too face risks. Habitat loss and pesticide use threaten the flowers and insects they depend on. Protecting green spaces in both cities and rural areas ensures that the sparkle of the purple sunbird remains a part of India's living landscape. The purple sunbird, tiny, radiant, and full of life. Proof that sometimes the brightest wonders of the world come in the smallest packages. What bird can be both familiar and elegant, simple yet unforgettable? In India, that honor belongs to the red-whiskered bulbul. This charming songbird is easy to recognize. Its slim body is dressed in warm brown and white, but two features set it apart. A sharp black crest on its head, like a tiny crown, and bright red patches on its cheeks and under its tail. Those little bursts of color give the bulbul its name and make it look as if it is always blushing. Red-whiskered bulbuls are lively and social, often seen in pairs or small groups perched on wires, fences, or tree branches. Their cheerful calls, a mix of whistles and chattering notes, are a common soundtrack in villages, towns, and gardens across India. For many people, their song is the sound of home. Fun fact, because of their beauty and sweet voice, bulbuls were once popular cage birds. In fact, they even became part of singing competitions in some parts of Asia. Today, however, conservationists encourage people to enjoy their songs in the wild, where they truly belong. In nature, these birds are helpful seed dispersers. Feeding on fruits, berries, and nectar, they spread the seeds of plants far and wide, helping forests and gardens regenerate. Their constant movement between flowers and shrubs makes them quiet, gardeners of the landscape. Culturally, the red-whiskered bulbul holds a soft spot in Indian folklore and poetry. It is often associated with love, joy, and companionship, small reminders of life's simple pleasures. For bird watchers, spotting one perched proudly with its crest raised is a delight, even if they are among the most common birds in India. Still, like many urban-dwelling birds, bulbuls face threats from shrinking green spaces and pesticide use. Protecting trees, planting native shrubs, and keeping gardens bird-friendly ensures that their cheerful presence continues to brighten daily life. The red-whiskered bulbul, familiar, musical, and full of charm. A bird that proves beauty is not always rare. Sometimes it is right outside your window. What bird can be both familiar and elegant, simple yet unforgettable? In India, that honor belongs to the red-whiskered bulbul. This charming songbird is easy to recognize. Its slim body is dressed in warm brown and white, but two features set it apart. A sharp black crest on its head, like a tiny crown, and bright red patches on its cheeks and under its tail. Those little bursts of color give the bulbul its name and make it look as if it is always blushing. Red-whiskered bulbuls are lively and social, often seen in pairs or small groups perched on wires, fences, or tree branches. Their cheerful calls, a mix of whistles and chattering notes, are a common soundtrack in villages, towns, and gardens across India. For many people, their song is the sound of home. Fun fact, because of their beauty and sweet voice, Bulbuls were once popular cage birds. In fact, they even became part of singing competitions in some parts of Asia. Today, however, conservationists encourage people to enjoy their songs in the wild, where they truly belong. In nature, these birds are helpful seed dispersers. Feeding on fruits, berries, and nectar, they spread the seeds of plants far and wide, helping forests and gardens regenerate. Their constant movement between flowers and shrubs makes them quiet, gardeners of the landscape. Culturally, the red-whiskered bulbul holds a soft spot in Indian folklore and poetry. It is often associated with love, joy, and companionship, small reminders of life's simple pleasures. For bird watchers, spotting one perched proudly with its crest raised is a delight, even if they are among the most common birds in India. Still, like many urban-dwelling birds, bulbuls face threats from shrinking green spaces and pesticide use. Protecting trees, planting native shrubs, and keeping gardens bird-friendly ensures that their cheerful presence continues to brighten daily life. The red-whiskered bulbul, familiar, musical, and full of charm. A bird that proves beauty is not always rare. Sometimes it is right outside your window. What if a single flash of emerald could light up the sky? That's the magic of the green bee-eater, one of India's most graceful little hunters. This slender bird is dressed in shimmering shades of green, with a hint of turquoise on its crown and throat. Its tail extends into two delicate filaments, giving it an elegant, streamlined look. Perched lightly on a wire or a branch, it seems almost weightless, a jewel suspended in the air. But don't let its delicate beauty fool you. The green bee-eater is a skilled predator. With keen eyesight, it spots bees, wasps, and dragonflies high above. In an instant, it launches into the air, wings slicing smoothly, and seizes its prey mid-flight with perfect precision. Then, with practiced ease, it returns to its perch, smashes the insect against the branch to remove the stinger, and only then enjoys its meal. Fun fact, green bee-eaters are very social birds. They often gather in small groups, not just to hunt, but also to preen and sunbathe together. On a warm day, you might even see them lying flat on the ground, wings spread wide, soaking up the sun, almost as if they're on a beach vacation. Their beauty is not only in their colors, but in the way they move. Watching a flock of bee-eaters swoop and glide through the air is like watching a choreographed ballet. Farmers often appreciate them too, as they help control insect populations that might otherwise harm crops. Though still common across much of India, these birds face challenges when pesticides reduce their insect food supply. Protecting natural grasslands and reducing chemical use ensures that these emerald hunters continue to brighten both farms and forests. The green bee-eater, radiant, playful, and endlessly graceful. Proof that some of the world's most beautiful birds shine not only through their colors, but through the elegance of their flight. Some birds wear colors so bold they look almost unreal. In the forests of northeast India, one such rarity exists, the black and red broadbill. This striking bird is a true showstopper. Its velvet black back contrasts sharply with a deep crimson belly and breast, while its most unusual feature, a broad, turquoise blue bill, glows like a jewel against the darker feathers. At first sight, it feels like a creature painted from imagination, yet here it is, alive in the wild. Broadbills are quiet and secretive, often perched motionless in dense foliage near rivers and wetlands. But when they fly, their colors flash like a signal, impossible to miss. Watching one swoop across a shaded forest clearing is like catching a glimpse of living art. Fun fact, unlike many birds that weave small nests, the black and red broadbill builds enormous hanging structures out of twigs, leaves, and plant fibers. These dangling nests can measure more than a meter long, swaying gently from tree branches overhanging water, true architectural marvels of the bird world. They feed mainly on insects, snails, and small aquatic creatures, snapping them up with their wide, heavy bills. This diet connects them closely to wetland and river ecosystems, making them sensitive indicators of environmental health. Because of their beauty and rarity, broadbills have long fascinated birdwatchers, but their scarcity is also a warning. Habitat destruction, especially the loss of riverside forests, threatens their survival. Sightings in India are considered precious, a reminder of how fragile and irreplaceable these birds are. The black and red broadbill, rare, radiant, and mysterious. A bird that proves nature's palette still holds colors beyond our imagination, waiting quietly in the forests of India. If there were ever a bird that looked like it flew straight out of a fairy tale, it would be the Asian Fairy Bluebird. With feathers that sparkle like sapphires, this bird seems almost too magical to be real. The male is a vision of deep, shimmering blue, glowing against his black wings and tail, a living gemstone flitting through the forest canopy. The female, dressed in softer but equally enchanting shades of turquoise, adds her own quiet charm. Together, they bring a touch of fantasy to India's tropical forests. Fairy bluebirds feed mainly on fruits and berries, and their presence is vital for spreading seeds across the forest. When they call, their voice is a rich, melodious whistle, adding music to the beauty of the landscape. It's no wonder that birdwatchers often describe seeing one as a dream come true. Fun fact, the bright blue feathers of the Asian Fairy Bluebird don't actually come from pigment. Instead, their color is structural. Light bouncing through microscopic layers in the feathers creates that dazzling blue glow. In other words, the bird carries a natural optical illusion in every feather. Culturally, this bird has long been associated with beauty and wonder. In many parts of Asia, it appears in art and folklore as a symbol of joy and good fortune. To glimpse one in the wild feels like stepping into a story where the forest itself is alive with magic. But like so many forest specialists, the fairy bluebird faces challenges. Logging and habitat loss have reduced their numbers in parts of India. Protecting tropical forests ensures that future generations can still look up and see flashes of sapphire light in the canopy. The Asian Fairy Bluebird, radiant, melodic, and almost mythical. A perfect reminder to end our journey through India's skies, that the world's most beautiful birds are not only sights to treasure, but voices calling us to cherish and protect the wild. Now it's your turn. Which of these 15 stunning birds captured your heart the most? Tell us in the comments below, and let's see which species becomes the audience's favorite. And if you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to subscribe for more stories from the skies. Today we traveled across India, from the legendary Indian Peafowl with its dazzling fan of feathers, to the mystical Himalayan Monal glowing like a rainbow in the mountains, and the tiny Oriental dwarf kingfisher flashing through the jungle like a living jewel. We saw flocks of scarlet minivets setting the forest aflame with color, the mighty great hornbill planting the rainforest one seed at a time, and the Asian Fairy Bluebird turning sunlight into sapphire. Each of these birds in its own way proved why India is home to some of the most beautiful birds in the world. But beyond beauty lies responsibility. These birds are not just treasures for us to admire. They are guardians of forests, rivers, and grasslands. They remind us that when habitats vanish, voices go silent. Protecting them means protecting the very balance of nature that sustains us all. So as we close, remember, the next time you hear a cheerful bulbul, glimpse a parakeet over a temple garden, or see a bee-eater swoop across a field, you are witnessing more than a bird. You are seeing a story of resilience, culture, and wonder. Written in wings, thank you for watching. And once again, let us know in the comments, which of these magnificent birds spoke to your soul the most? We can't wait to hear your answer.